Okay, great. Thank you so much, Katie. I sure appreciate the chance to speak to you today. My name is Ken Winter. I'm at the VDOT Research Library. I'll be telling you a little bit about the library today. And I want to let everyone know that we're recording this in case anyone can't make it, so they can have a chance to play it back later, or if you want to go back and check out a couple details. So I'll be covering a lot of territory today. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. I'm going to be covering a lot of territory about the library and doing a couple demonstrations. So in the interest of time, it'd probably be best if we could hold your questions to the very end, but I will give you time for that. And of course, you can feel free to contact me or anyone else at the library because ebooks can get complicated. So if you have any questions at all, today it's going to be me speaking primarily. We have Gil Kenner, my colleague, on the line as well, in case any technical questions come up that he might be better able to answer. So I'll pause for a second, make sure that you can hear me and my screen is coming through okay.
All good for us.
Oh, excellent. Great. Thank you so much. So, so the first question, VDOT has a library. I did not know that. Yes, we've been around for quite a few decades. In fact, we became the VDOT Research Library after starting as the VTRC Research Library, just so we could serve everyone at the agency. And our goal is really to support all VDOT employees in person and virtually as well. Most of you, I recognize a lot of names, have used us virtually, or if you do use us, you will use us virtually. So this leads us perfectly into a discussion of the Highway Capacity Manual, which is what we're here to talk about today. We have licensed this ebook for use by all of VDOT. My colleague Gil Kenner was very forward-thinking in recognizing that we need to get this title and it's going to get a lot of use. This is a slightly unusual ebook for us in that it's a 3-volume set with 24 chapters and close to 2,500 pages, and it's all smushed together in one digital rights management protected PDF. So this is not a typical PDF that you're used to, and I'll talk about what that means in a second. There is a volume 4, the applications guide, and you all probably know much more about the Highway Capacity Manual than I do. I'm not going to be going into that at all today. There's a number of other things that we won't have a lot of time to explore in detail. Software apps, a variety of scenarios where you've got a device or a certain situation. I'm not going to talk about our other ebook collections like Skillsoft Novel and Compass. We've got about 100,000 ebooks and about 60,000 print volumes. So we have considerable collections, and I hope you can find those. But today we're going to focus on the Highway Capacity Manual. I'm not going to really get into standards, reports, articles, all this other stuff, the services, all the things that we do, except to mention that we are a full service library and we're here to help you out. So if you need something, you can find us very quickly and easily just by doing a Google search. You can find us here on Dottie. You can get to us through the VTRC website, which is where we're physically located at VTRC in Charlottesville. And here's a quick look at our webpage. So this is kind of going to be our starting point, and I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit between the website and the live demo here. You can find us online at this URL. Simply put the word library in front of VDOT's public URL, and you'll get to us. All right, so talking briefly about ebooks in the library. These ebooks that we provide access to are not owned, but they're licensed. So that means we can loan them to many different people at the exact same time. In fact, all of our ebooks are licensed for unlimited simultaneous user access. And so what that means is if John Doe over here has checked an ebook out, so to speak, Jane Doe can use the same ebook. She can check it out at the same time. So it's not one user, one item, which is a constraint of the print world. So that's kind of nice. They all integrate, however, some form of digital rights management, and it might look a little bit or behave a little bit differently depending on what platform you're in. So these ebooks are all accessible via some kind of ebook lending interface. I'll just call it a platform. They can all be found in our library catalog, but I'm going to get to it in a little bit different way here in just a second. Real quick, how am I defining an ebook? Really, it's any book, broadly speaking, very broadly speaking, that's not in a physical format. So this is a digital book. It could be PDF. It could be in the EPUB format. It could be HTML. It could be many things. It could be very highly portable, but it's always going to contain some kind of digital rights management. So this is, again, it's a little bit different from a freely accessible PDF that you might find online somewhere. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look and demonstration of how this particular ebook works and behaves. First, I'm going to show you what it's going to typically look like and how it's going to behave from my desktop here or from a dockable laptop using the on-screen viewing option for this book. Next, I'm going to talk about how you can do a full download of the ebook and utilize it in Adobe Digital Editions. I'll point out that this is going to require you to register for an EBSCO account. EBSCO is the vendor of this ebook. It's free and easy to do, and it's also going to require you to have Adobe Digital Editions installed. It's the DRM reader. VDOT is going to have to do that, and you have to get a free Adobe ID. Again, not hard to do, but it's just a little bit more steps. Finally, I'm going to show you a very low-tech version of what this looks like on mobile devices, which I think is a very good option if you have a device. But we'll take a quick look at that in just a second. And let me go to a browser real quick. All right, so I'm going to get there the way you typically might. I'm going to find our library just by going to Google and doing a Google search. And in this case, you're going to hit our library webpage. You can hit it from a variety of different angles. I'm going to be preparing a research guide that walks you through the steps and provides instructional videos for this. I'm going to have to share that probably later today or tomorrow because it's not quite done yet. And that'll help coach you up on all these small little details that you might have. But for now, I'm just going to go to this A to Z list here, and I'm going to look for Highway Capacity Manual, 7th edition. And I am now in. So I'm in the EBSCO ebook lending platform at this point. And you'll see right here, I've got a couple different options to view this item. I can either do the PDF full text or I can do the full download. I'm going to go into the full record here just to point out a couple of other quick details that may be of interest. You see these tools on the right-hand side. These help you do various printing, emailing, saving, and sharing with other people at VDOT. So because this is accessible to everyone at VDOT, we really do encourage you to share this way. There are some constraints as to how much you can print or save and how we recommend that you share that I'll get into in just a second. But I'll point out this permalink feature right here on the right-hand side. And this is a super handy feature. If you click it, it's going to produce this URL up at the top here that you can email, you can send to someone in chat. Anyone at VDOT you can give this to. You could also park it on Dottie if you wanted to and provide access to this with one click. So that's a handy thing to know about. And this works from individual pages in the book. I'll show you that in a second. So the first thing we're looking at here is the PDF full text. And this may be my first hiccup as it's not loading on my screen. So this could be a bandwidth issue, but let me try again. Okay. All right. So this is the easiest and the fastest way to get to the contents of this book, which again, this is not one book, it's a 3-volume set smushed together. So this has an on-screen viewer right here where I can scroll and start viewing. I can use the page features to advance. Super simple and easy to use, but it's feeding this across the internet to me within this screen viewer. So again, I mentioned that permalink feature. If I wanted to link someone just to this table of contents, I could get there and then click permalink here, and this is going to be the permalink just to that table of contents. So super handy feature. I do like that. I do beat this ebook on this platform up a little bit in that it doesn't have some features that I think some of you might expect to use or want to use, such as a clickable table of contents. If I click on these volumes and chapters, it's not linking me there. which I find kind of annoying. Some of the PDFs for other books do that, but in this case, this one doesn't behave that way. So I'm just going to let that go. At the bottom here, you see if you have a page that you frequently consult or a part of a chapter. I'll just take a guess here. You can plug that in and you'll go right to it. So that's a handy feature as well. But probably the best feature, or one of the top features, and a tip that I'll give you here, is this search within feature, because I suspect that this is not the kind of ebook that you're gonna download and take to the beach or read by the campfire or anything like that. It's a reference book where you probably, I'm guessing, and you can tell me and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that you probably, each of you has specific needs for this and a section that's just for you. Some of you might use multiple sections. But this search within feature is quite nice. So if you use a search within, again, it's a 2,500 page ebook, so it can be very slow. And my first tip here is definitely use the search within feature, but use quote marks. So I'm going to search for pedestrian facility types. This will, using quote marks, will dramatically speed up how quickly it searches. If I didn't use those quote marks and I searched for a phrase, we'd still be sitting here. So it's got a nice feature in that it will highlight your keyword terms. I love the feature. And in this particular ebook, it's behaving oddly in that the highlighting is over here off to the side. So I'm not sure why it's doing that, and I'm just not going to worry about it, but I'll just point it out. You're not hallucinating, but that's what's going on. All right. Another very handy feature that I'll promote from this in-screen viewer is the My Notes option. I could create a new note, but when I do that, it's going to prompt me to sign in because it needs to differentiate me from another person. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign in first. And I'm using my EBSCO ebook account. This is not my VDOT network password. So it is a separate password, and I apologize for that. We're working to find ways to resolve this. But you do definitely want to use your VDOT email address for this, I recommend. All right. So now it looks and behaves pretty much the same, although you can see it's recognizing me by name up in the upper right-hand corner. It's showing me my checkouts, etc. So again, back to this My Notes feature. And the thing that I like about this quite a lot is that if you go to a page that you use over and over, and I'll go to the misery index, you can just bookmark it here. And that's a quick and easy way to get right back to it. Or we can go to that other item that I was just looking at a second ago. All right, so that is a quick look at the in-screen viewer, and let's see. The next thing I'm going to demonstrate really quickly is the full download option and the use of the ebook in Adobe Digital Editions. Now, if we go back to my account, you can see I've got a couple ebooks, quote unquote, checked out, and this is going to provide me some details that if I look at it, that will show me how long I have it checked out for. It's really kind of irrelevant because these are unlimited simultaneous user books. You can, the typical checkout is 1 year, but if when it's overdue, it'll just go away. You can just recheck it out as many times as you want. So I won't really get into that in a great deal of detail, but I will show you real quick what Adobe Digital Editions looks like. It's a pretty nice interface. I really do like it. And if for those of you who use this book frequently, like every week, I would recommend exploring this option. Again, you are going to need to get Vita to download and install the latest version of Adobe Digital Editions. You have to go to the Adobe site and register for a free Adobe ID, which is quick and easy to do. And the guide that I mentioned will have all of these details on there, and then you just need to connect them. So here's a version of this book that I have checked out through Adobe Digital Editions. The search function is much better. and it's a nice clean look. It's easy to print. It's easy to do all those details. And here's some of the same things that we're just looking at in the on-screen version. So here, this is scenario 2. Some of you may want to do this as well. And then finally, some of you may be interested in access through a mobile device. There are some requirements for this as well. Of course, you're going to have a mobile device to do this. And let me see if I can do my super low-tech demonstration here. Really, I've just got an iPad. I'm kind of an iOS person, and this is what it's going to look like. There are some nice features from the mobile app, which is an app that you download, such as this feature, which allows you to reverse, get a negative image of the text. You get some nice scrolling features back and forth there. And again, I don't know if you can see this too well. And you can also do the mobile app version on a phone. Again, it depends on what you're looking to accomplish, and I'm not sure if we'll get the glare right on this, but it is a very small ebook to view the ebook this way. I'm not getting a good look at it, but it looks the same as on the iPad, only extremely tiny. So if you want to do that, please feel free to do it. I actually find the user experience is pretty good, much better for me personally on an iPad or a tablet or something like that than on the iPhone, but you can do whatever you want. So the thing I like about the iOS version is there's the download, of course, is free on either iOS or Android. I've not used the Android. Gil is kind of our Android expert in the library. But on iOS, it's got some nice password, I don't know the right terminology, remembering features. It will remember you back. It will face recognize and things like that make getting back into it pretty quick and easy. But again, you're going to need an internet connection for that. Now, there are a couple of publisher restrictions that I want to mention. And this gets into the digital rights management part of how these items work. There are limitations set by the publisher as to how much you can print, email, or save. You can do all of these things with all of the eBooks in EBSCO, but different publishers allow different things. In the case of the Highway Capacity Manual, they allow up to 100 pages of the book per session for any of those 3 functions, print, email, or save. And what do I mean by per session? Well, there's some kind of counter in there that counts what you're doing. So if I wanted to print 100 pages and I did that on Monday and I need to print another 1 page, it's not going to let me do it. All you have to do is jump all the way out and then jump all the way back in. You're in a new session and you can continue doing this. Obviously, the publisher doesn't want people to download or print the entire 3-volume set, which would be quite a lot of paper and quite a challenge. There is unlimited copying and pasting. There's unlimited or unrestricted downloading, simultaneous users, as mentioned, and that share feature I really highly recommend. So again, if you're going to, let's say you want to share a few key pages with some colleagues at work, you want to put that on Dotty, I would not recommend doing something like downloading the PDF pages and then uploading that PDF to Dotty somehow. Instead, what I would recommend doing is copying the permalink, going into Dotty, and setting a hypertext link to that with a brief description of what it is. That's the way they want you to do it. So I do have a couple criticisms about this, again, this particular book. It's fairly well locked down, a little bit more difficult to use than many of our books. So there are a variety of things that's making my presentation today quite short that I'm not talking to you about, like what does the EPUB version look like? Well, it's a moot point because they don't provide an EPUB version, etc. I did mention the chapter linking thing that I wish they had enabled. Some of the PDFs in there are enabled that way, but this one isn't. There's also a chapter download feature whereby you could, let me see if I can get back to it, you could get in here and go to an individual chapter and download it. This doesn't take too long. I'll explain what I'm talking about here. But in this case, the way the publisher has coordinated this PDF, the only quote unquote chapter downloads are right here on the left-hand side. So If you want to download a single title page, that's not super helpful. Some of the other ebooks in this platform, it does show you all the chapters, and you can download an individual chapter, which is a faster way to go. What else? I did mention the search within feature is slow, but my tip is to use the quote marks, and the search term highlighting is a little bit unusual sometimes. I already mentioned the permalink to the records of the pages. That's a great feature. The elements such as the bookmarks or notes, which also you can do in Adobe Digital Editions in the permalink for sure. So what happens if I do print this out? Just be advised, and you'll notice this right away, that it's going to watermark the PDFs that you print out. In this case of this book from this publisher through this platform, it doesn't, it just specifies that it was printed by the Virginia Department of Transportation. So they want to make sure that you're aware of the copyright limitations, and there are some ways that they encourage you to share, other ways they don't want you to share. And some of our ebook platforms go so far as to make you register or log in, so that in addition to what it says there, it might state this page was downloaded by Ken Winter. So kind of your name and our account name is all over it. So just be advised that they do that. Not a big deal. A couple of FAQs, which again will be addressed on the imaginary guide that we're working to finish for you. Can I access this from a device that's not issued by VDOT, such as my personal Android? Yes, you can, or your personal PC. Can I access it off the network? Yes, you sure can. And I won't go into the instructions for that, but the guide will show you. Can I copy pages to a hard drive, OneDrive, etc.? Yes, you can do that within constraints and limitations. Again, with the .dotty upload, no, please use a link instead. Can I legally reuse pages or content from this in other ways, like presentations or classes? It depends on what your use is, and this gets into so many different scenarios. If you have a question or are uncomfortable, just get in touch with us, really, at any time. You can find us on the web and communicate your questions with us, and we'll try to help you out. This is our URL again, and I think that pretty well covers what I had hoped to talk about. So now we can do any kinds of questions there might be, if you have them.
We got a couple minutes for questions, so if anyone has any in the teams, just raise your hand and I'll check with the room here. We got a question here in the room. Hopefully you can hear.
Can you hear me, Ken?
I can, yes.
Hey, Ken, it's Stephen Reed from Highway Safety and Traffic Operations. Good,
Yes, sir.
good overview for the Highway Capacity Manual. Could you spend 1 minute on the Highway Safety Manual through ASTM Compass?
Oh man, the Highway Safety Manual. I'm not as familiar. I can tell you something about ASTM Compass that is a breaking news, and we can do a quick demo of that.
That's great. While you're bringing it up, I can tell folks here how to get to the safety manual as well.
Yeah, so as of yesterday, we have enabled single sign-on for ASTM Compass, and this will be my test to see if it works. I don't think I'm on the VDOT network right now. So for those of you who are familiar with Okta, the good news is that this and many other resources used to require additional passwords, but in this case, you just go to the library, click on ASTM Compass, and you write in, you see it's recognizing me by name. So it's the Highway Safety Manual.
That's right.
And we are now in that zone of a whole nother platform, a whole nother publisher, a whole nother system.
That's the one you want with the supplements.
Okay, great. So I'm pulling up the full record just so we can see what this is.
And it's downloadable only, I believe, from ASTO with the watermark for with your email on it.
Right. You see their take on all of these same features that we just talked about. This is what their in-screen viewer looks like. and this is how their scroll works. You can download it for sure. So if you don't have an account to ASTM Compass, I'd recommend you go to the library website, go to the A to Z list, go to ASTM Compass. And if you do this effective yesterday afternoon, and this is something we've been working on for a long time, if you click on that link and you don't have an account, the very first thing you will see is a screen that prompts you. It recognizes you and has a partially filled out account with your email address in it. Just put your first and last name in and click save. You'll pass right in. You can search for the item you want, as well as any other things that you want here, and then you can access and download it. Our library website does have a quick start guide on ASTM Compass as well. So. And I'm not sure how long this will take, but it definitely is accessible to you as their take on the PDF. So, great question.
I think that if there's any other questions, I recommend anyone email Ken or anyone at the VDOT library for help with that, because those of us who are in in-person training, we have to get to today's material. But thank you, Ken.
My pleasure. So anyone have any follow-up questions, please get in touch with us. You can find us online as mentioned. And at this point, I'll stop because I'm past my time and let you continue on. But thank you so much, Katie, for the time to speak to your group today.